track by track for the day job, track 9, Brightside.
So I Talk Too Much, track 2 on the day job. That was the absolute last song to make the sequence, and it was a recently written song. Brightside was written very early on when I started writing again, and it was on early sequences when I was trying to put together the first album, and then I ditched it and forgot all about it. So when it got to the point of really overthinking and starting to put together tons of different sequences for the day job, at some point, I have no idea what made me remember this song, but I must have just been going through demos and other songs and said, oh my gosh, I really liked this one. So this one came very quickly in terms of that chorus and those verses, as well as the tag at the end of the second verse that kind of takes you into what is now a solo and then a sort of deconstructed chorus to end the entire song. Started playing around on the keyboard, came up with those chords very quickly, and then just started playing with tons of arpeggiators, synth sounds, and had that vocal hook super fast. Knew that I wanted that verse part to go to halftime and to get a little bit more dreamy and spacious, and then interestingly, I wanted to use falsetto. So I used to be goofily confident in my falsetto back in the day. By that I mean, let me sing lead on a barbershop tag for fun, or let me pin a high note in the car, or while we're all just messing around. But I was never confident to really use that in the studio, and certainly not live. I grew up practicing in garages and basements and places with blown out PAs, and falsetto just wasn't something that you were going to hear at band practice. So I was never confident enough to do that. And then, interestingly, not surprisingly, when I was not playing music and doing anything with my voice, I lost a ton of range and I lost that falsetto. So I was pretty excited when I started to write again, and then I got this setup here where I could be as weird, as vulnerable as I wanted to be, and lo and behold, some of the range, some of the falsetto started to come back, and I could do it in a more comfortable environment here. So I knew that I wanted to explore that on the verses for Brightside. And then lyrically, this one came super fast. It's actually a rare song for me anyway, where all of the lyrics were very visual. I had images. I knew what I wanted to write about in terms of what images I wanted to portray via the lyrics. And it came because I had been going for a run, I want to say at night, but it was winter, I think early-ish winter, where it starts to get dark at like 4 p.m. And I was out for a run with like some reflective gear and some of the lights so that I don't get hit by a car. And there was just one street light, and I live near some woods. Not many, but some. And the image of this street light, this lone street light sort of pointing at the street, and then on the other side of it were the woods, I just felt like, this street that it's supposed to be making look safe, it actually looked very creepy. But I remember running up on it and thinking it almost looks like hopeful to the woods, to those dark woods on the other side of it. And just having this thought come through my head, I've been having way more fun in the dark, and just kind of wanting to immediately start to think about that. And then again, that hook, the chorus hook came pretty quickly. And then I just started thinking about how everything is, bright signs and just so in your face and so fast these days. So I wanted to make that funky, sort of relatively upbeat in terms of tempo chorus, and then just drop everything down. So you would think that those two parts, that's enough. I had that tag at the end of that second verse. But I have a problem where if I could get away with it, I would make every song have 12, 15 different parts. Some of them could be 2 seconds. I'm just always overstuffing things, whether it's the amount of tracks in a given part of the song, or the song just has too many pre-chorus, post-chorus, too many bridges. It goes completely off the rails or left of center for the ending. And this is one I didn't really need to do that. But here's what I did do. I decided that I was picturing this live too, and again had like the neon and the glow in the dark type stuff, like all inspired just by that one street light. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna picture this live as like the closest thing that I would ever do to like a dance song. So I actually did a 7.5-minute version of this song where every, I don't know if it was 8, 16 bars or so, I extended the chorus music bed, and every 8 or 16 I would up the BPM until it got up to something insane like 200 plus BPM. And then I just kept adding like thunderous drums as the BPMs increased too, so it just became this chaotic, dancey in my mind, like picturing it being like this great big live thing. Anyway, long story short, when I rediscovered this and kind of fell back in love with it, ended up bringing that into the studio and saying, what about this one? And it was there. Again, it was really just Dave adding some guitars. So those guitars were added to the chorus, and he did the arpeggiated picking guitar in the verses. And then coming out of that second verse, the tag part, he just played a solo. And relatively quickly just ripped through a few takes of that solo, and then did some conversion to MIDI. Took that guitar, converted it to MIDI, started playing with sounds. I had already been taking that final chorus and deconstructing it a little bit so that it didn't do just all of the lines again, and we ended up even stripping it down further. That's it. It's all it needs. But here we are. This is the one that almost legitimately almost didn't make the record.